Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Spotlight, brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning expert specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. Well, we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. We are bringing you a game of the week. It is one that hasn't happened in quite a few years here, five to be exact. We are talking about the crosstown rivalry between Casa Grande Union and Vista Grande. This game will be Friday night at CG Union. And David, you've covered CG Union pretty much all season long. What can you say about the Cougars at this point in time?
At this point in time, things are still kind of up in the air for this team. Whether it be the rankings where they're at right now, whether it be the team personnel, whether it be the coaching staff, there's still a lot of questions for this team, especially after, we've talked about it before, head coach Mark Luna is no longer with the team. These guys are still trying to find their footing and still trying to figure it out as they go, especially with a new coach under George Bell, who, to his credit, I saw him, on the sidelines last week against Buena, and he brought a different level of energy. Like, you wouldn't think that this team was, had a lot of adversity with their reactions to how the game started, but as the game kind of progressed, mistakes kind of piled up on them, and you could see the cracks a little bit. So that's going to be the big key for them. Can they limit those mistakes, and can they actually stick to being the team that we know they can be? Quarterback Ben Matecki is only a sophomore. He's only in his second year of playing tackle football ever, and he's going to make mistakes, and we saw that last week against Buena. He had 4 interceptions, and that's just something that's just going to come with time, and it's going to have to figure it out, but he's got to clean it up, especially against a team like Vista Grande, who is kind of on that a little bit of a lower tier than I would call it for Casa Grande. So it's just going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. Can the teams rise to the occasion and figure it out as they go? Cameron Armstrong is going to be a huge factor in this game. So will Avion Williams, as they always are. And it's going to come down to, can Ben Matecki really get the ball to his playmakers, and can the defense hold up? I think this is going to be a more competitive game than we thought it would be. Just depends on which team shows up for either squad on Friday night.
So David hit the nail on the head here. It all depends on which team shows up. And by that I mean not specifically which one outplays the other one more. It's them individually. Which team is going to show up for Vista Grande, which team is going to show up for CG Union. Looking at Vista Grande has gone through it just in about every sense, from being a bunch of underclassmen moving up to 5A, being under a new head coach, and then to add on to everything, they pretty much lost their whole running back group. A couple weeks ago, they did get DeMarco DeCastro back just a couple weeks ago. Last week, he looked fantastic against Oro Valley Ironwood Ridge. But other than that, Vista Grande is kind of a one-trick pony right now. They have a strong running game, but because they have such a strong running game and kind of a weak passing game, opponents know, hey, they're going to run the ball. That's where we need to focus on. Because of everything that went on with their running back group, that meant that quarterback Levi Tabarez had to move over from quarterback to running back to wide receiver to playing a little bit of defense. And Trayson Pau'ulu, he moved over from defense to quarterback. Now, Trayson has done a solid job for Vista Grande so far in his 3 games at quarterback. I feel like that's kind of the secret weapon here, those two guys, Pau'ulu and Tabarez, because in the past couple of years, Tabarez has shown he can be a really good running back. He's really great at being a wide receiver, and now it's just a matter of those two guys building up that connection and kind of utilizing that to their benefit and trying to catch opponents off guard. Defensively, I got to give these guys a big shout out. Carlton Paget III and Keandre Rassler. They had a fantastic game last week against Ironwood Ridge. And then also Caden Bright. He might not show up in the stats, but when you go back and look at films, photos, whatever it is you're doing after the game, you will see this guy right there along with the other two, just bringing that pressure to opposing quarterbacks. Overall, I believe, honestly, if we were still just a one-school town, I believe that these two teams combined would be one heck of a team with CG Union's offense and Vista Grande's defense. But unfortunately, we've been divided up into 2 schools. And like I mentioned, it's just a matter of which team shows up on either side. David, is there anything else you would like to add about this game?
I think we've nailed it perfectly here. It's which team shows up on either side and which team rises to the occasion here. It's going to be really important of which team limits the amount of mistakes, and whoever does that is probably going to win this one. If I saw this game on the schedule at the beginning of the season, I would have said Casa Grande would probably win this, pretty easily. But I think now it could be a more evenly contested game than we thought it would be.
Switching over, we are also bringing you guys our additional games to watch. David, what do you have your eye on this week?
I'm looking at something new this season for the 2A conference. It's the 2A crossover games, which We don't really know what that means. I don't think AAA really knows what that means, but we're going to figure it out as we go. So Santa Cruz, with this kind of regional, we didn't really know who they were going to play until the week of, and it's going to be, turns out it's going to be Bisbee. And this team, is not as strong as it was in previous years. Santa Cruz and Bisbee kind of have a little bit of a history there. So I think it's just going to come down to, is Santa Cruz healthy enough to win this one? The season hasn't really gone the way they hoped for, whether it be playing up to the level of some of the higher ranked teams that they've seen before. And when it comes to having players available, they've had some problems with injuries. So I think it's going to come down to the run game as well. Diego Ibarra for Santa Cruz has done a really solid job for them, rushing for over 1,000 yards so far this season. So if they win this one, they're kind of slotted right where they want to be when it comes to playoffs. They can still make a playoff chance here when it comes to the expanded range here. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens with this one. I like Santa Cruz in this one. I think they have enough to win it, and it's just going to come down to, are they healthy enough to have the right guys needed to win the game?
So my game to watch is another somewhat of a rivalry game out in Santan Valley. It is Combs. They will be hosting Poston Butte. And Combs right now is ranked number 6 in the 4A conference. They had a really good game last week, bounced back after their back-to-back losses to the top 2 teams in the 4A conference. They defeated Mesquite last week, and they did so without their starting quarterback in Kanan Hale. Kanan got hurt the previous week in their game against Snowflake. And looking at this week, I feel like if he's not 100%, you really shouldn't force him because unfortunately, Poston Butte has kind of been struggling a lot this season. They are still searching for their first win. Their whole identity right now, whether that's offense or defense, it goes through Easton Folletti. Folletti is the team's leading rusher, 717 yards, 7 touchdowns, and he also leads the team with 66 tackles. So looking at Combs, I feel like, hey, this is kind of that game where you iron out some keys, kind of figure out, which guys can potentially help you out later on, looking at that bigger picture, which is something, coaches always say, hey, we're just focusing one game at a time. Yes, okay, that's fine. But for Combs, it's all about that bigger picture and potentially, getting a rematch against either Snowflake or Arcadia and rebounding against one of those losses. We will have to wait and see because that's still a couple weeks out. But as always, here are our picks and the schedule for this week. And as always, be sure to check out Canal Central for all of your local sports coverage.